Hit the B button again. Go ahead and hit that B button again. And now you can F5.
Alright, so we did René Descartes. He was born on March 31st, 1596, far away in a land called Haiti, France. His mom was Jenny Brochard, and his dad was Joachim Descartes. He was his parents' youngest child, and one of 3 children in his family to survive infancy. After his mom died, he and his 2 siblings went and lived at their grandma's house. After spending time with his grandma's for years, he grew older and got really sick and fragile. This led him to be sent to a Jesuit college at La Flèche on Easter of 1607. He got to sleep in all the time, unlike the rest of the students at school. He studied grammar, geometry, music, arithmetic, astronomy, and metaphysics. In the summer of 1618, he traveled to a distant land known as the Netherlands to become a volunteer for the army. There, he met an important man named Isaac Beekman, who influenced him greatly by opening his eyes to the mathematics, its powers, and how it can appeal to all sorts of things in our world. In 1619, he began big boy work with the math studies under the careful eye of Beekman. Shortly after focusing his talents and interests on math, he left the army and he headed to Germany. While stationed in Ulm, Germany, he had 3 magical dreams that encouraged him to seek new methods within the fields of science and using math. A year later, he followed his dreams to find the rules of the corrections of the mind. He worked on his dream up until 1628, before he finally abandoned his dreams for good.
These dreams became a new point for his life. In his life, he realized this was the major focal point within his lifetime. Due to his dreams, he was able to begin his career in writing. In 1639, he began work on the Meditations on First Philosophy. The first edition of the Meditations was published in Latin in 1641 with 6 sets of objections in his replies. The second edition, published in 1642, also included a 7th set of objections and replies. Along with the second edition, he sent a letter to Father Denet, in which he defined his system of beliefs against charges of unorthodoxy. This led to some serious problems and disagreements. Due to these disagreements, Descartes posted 2 open letters to his enemies. The first letter notes on a program.
René Descartes was a French-born philosopher who is known as the father of modern philosophy, best known for his quote, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am. Descartes was born near Tours in France in 1596 and was educated in classics, logic and the philosophy of Aristotle in a Jesuit college in Anjou. He graduated and then studied at the University of Poitiers, obtaining his law license in 1616. He then enlisted in the army, and during his spare time he studied mathematics. In 1619, he experienced a series of powerful dreams which influenced him greatly in his pursuit of science and knowledge, and he acknowledged this as the focal point of his life. He spent time in various parts of Europe before he settled in the Dutch Republic. He maintained his studies and lived in various places throughout the Republic. During this time, he began his writing career, and he began to publish his new works that would revolutionize mathematics and philosophy. These works included The World, Discourse on the Method, La Géométrie, Meditations of First Philosophy, which is still a standard text on most philosophy courses, Principles of Philosophy, and Passions of the Soul. His new mathematical theories provided the basis for the study of calculus, analytic geometry, and Cartesian geometry, where geometric functions are described using algebra. He died in 1650 in Stockholm and is seen as a revolutionary thinker who tried to integrate philosophy with new forms of science, as well as with the theology of the time. He is considered one of the key figures in the scientific revolution.
Why he is is known as the father of modern philosophy is because he went against the ways of the old philosophy, like Aristotle once thought. The people thought Aristotle's teaching were so true, you were punished if you went against him and the ways that he had taught. But Rene knew he was true, so he shared his ideas, no matter what they said.
Father of modern philosophy. His mathematical theories provided us with the knowledge of calculus, analytic geometry, and Cartesian geometry. Because of him, we do math in school, which not too many people enjoy. His famous quote is "Cogito ergo sum," which meant that I think, therefore I am, and that's like what he was known for his whole life, like as we saw in the video too. And this quote is Rene's most famous achievement. This reasoning is found in the second meditation, one of his books. And Rene focuses on the idea that I exist, and like you have a purpose in this world, and that everyone is alive and sees in the first person, but the truth will take place through your perspective. For example, if I am standing in the rain, I must exist to becoming wet.
I suppose, accordingly, that all the things which I see are false, fictitious. I believe that none of those objects which my fallacious memory represents ever existed. I suppose that I possess no senses. I believe that body, figure, extension, motion, and place are merely fictions of my mind. What is there, then, that can be esteemed true? Perhaps this only, that there is absolutely nothing certain. But how do I know that there is not something different altogether from the objects I have now enumerated, of which it is impossible to entertain the slightest doubt? Is there not a God, or some being, by whatever name I may designate him, who causes these thoughts to arise in my mind? But why suppose such a being? For it may be I myself am capable of producing them. Am I then, at least, not something? But I before denied that I possessed senses or a body. I hesitate, however, for what follows from that? Am I so dependent on the body and the senses that without these I cannot exist? But I had the persuasion that there was absolutely nothing in the world, that there was no sky and no earth, neither minds nor bodies. Was I not, therefore, at the same time persuaded that I did not exist? Far from it. I assuredly existed, since I was persuaded. But there is I know not what being who is possessed at once of the highest power and the deepest cunning, who is constantly employing all his ingenuity in deceiving me. Doubtless, then, I exist, since I am deceived, and let him deceive me as he may, he can never bring it about that I am nothing, so long as I shall be conscious that I am something. So that it must, in fine, be maintained, all things being maturely and carefully considered, that this proposition, I am, I exist, is necessarily true each time it is expressed by me, or conceived in my mind.
And the overview, Rene Descartes is known as one of the most important philosophers to ever come around. He started views on the self-image of humans that no one ever thought before, and Rene launched a new form of philosophy, and also he had a really big input towards like the world of math and trigonometry and stuff.
Please let's send everyone out on a nice, cute little note.
Time for Tubby bye-bye. Time for Tubby bye-bye. Time for Tubby bye-bye.
Tinky Winky.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Dipsy. Bye-bye, Lala. Bye-bye, Poe.
Bye.